Show me a community that understands today's world and is working together to thrive within it, and I'll show you a community on the rise. That's how the internationally known writer Thomas Friedman of the New York Times described Louisville after visiting our city last spring. Those words summarize the approach to governing and to leadership that we've seen from Mayor Greg Fischer. In his tenure, Louisville has earned a national reputation as one of the most innovative and forward-thinking cities in America. A city that builds on its history as it embraces the opportunities and the challenges of the future. In 2017 alone, our city has earned top 10 rankings, prizes, and praise from Forbes, Amazon, Bloomberg Business Week, National Geographic, World Food Travel Association, and many, many more. Those successes are what happens when a city comes together, and Mayor Fischer is a big believer in the power of collaboration. That's one of the lessons he brought to the mayor's office after 30 years as a successful business person. When he was sworn in as mayor 7 years ago this week, Mayor Fischer talked about 3 core city values that would guide his work: making Louisville a city of lifelong learning and great jobs, a healthier city, and an even more compassionate community. Today, he's here to report on how our city is doing in these areas and on the overall state of our city. Please join me in welcoming our mayor, Greg Fischer.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, and thank you all for braving the cold here to join us at what really is a gorgeous new library here, our South Central Regional Library. We're very proud about this. This library makes a bold statement about our city value of lifelong learning. Our libraries are our learning hubs where people of all ages connect to information, imagination, and inspiration. That's one reason why we're featuring the work of local artists who are part of the Collider program here. This unique artist in residence program is possible because of the great councilwoman, Madonna Flood. Madonna Flood not only funds this program, she's helping host us here today in District 24. Councilwoman, thank you very, very much. Great job. And of course, I want to thank and welcome all the members of the Metro Council as well. Our partnership is critical to moving this city forward. Our County Attorney, Mike O'Connell, is here with us also today. I want to thank my most important team, and that's my family that's sitting over here. Thank you guys for putting up with me. And I want to thank my hardworking staff and the whole team at Louisville Metro Government, including Jim Blanton, Rachel Robertson, and the crew from South Central Regional hosting us here today. Let's give a round of applause for all those folks. It feels right to talk about the state of the city here because a public library represents so much of who we are. It's a place of possibility, a place where you can learn about the past, the present, and imagine our future. A library is, in many ways, a gateway to the future. And that's where we are as a city, standing at the gateway to our future, in a city, country, and world with incredible and disruptive change. The question is, what's on the other side of that gateway? To answer that, let's look at where we've been and where we're going. Let's go back to January 2011, when I was sworn in on the steps of Metro Hall. We were just coming out of the Great Recession. Unemployment had been above 10%. We'd been losing rather than adding jobs. Most of us had never been through a financial crisis like that, and as I talked to people across the city, there was a lot of anxiety about the future. In my DNA are the lessons I learned as an entrepreneur: innovation, customer focus, continuous improvement, responsible budgeting, and strong fiscal management, the importance of training, data, and partnerships. And I can tell you my team knows how to put a strategy together, work hard, and get after it. And that's what we did. And let's look at the results that we accomplished together. Since 2011, our city has created over 70,000 new private sector jobs, opened 2,500 new businesses. Unemployment is down to 3.5%. Since just 2014, we've attracted $12.5 billion in capital investment. At the same time, Louisville businesses are doubling down on their investments by expanding. Companies like Ford, GE Appliances, Clarion, Churchill Downs, El Toro, Mint Julep Tours, Heine Brothers, and many, many more. We've got 25 hotel projects announced or under construction, 25, and we need those. Thanks to Bourbonism, Louisville is now a 365-day-a-year tourist destination, welcoming over 24 million tourist visits a year. And with the expansion at the Kentucky International Convention Center, that number is only going to rise. Our compassion work continues to change people's lives. Nearly $30 million invested in affordable housing in the last two city budgets. 180,000 volunteers in acts of compassion, another world record during last year's Give a Day week of service. A 9% decline in homelessness over the last year, including a record 112 young people housed during last fall's 100-day challenge. And we met a national challenge to end veterans' homelessness in our city. Prosperity is only real when everybody feels it. That's why I'm happy to report that wages are also up. In the last 2 years, 11,000 Louisvillians lifted themselves out of poverty, and 8,300 Louisville families joined the middle class. Importantly, we're seeing investment all over the city. In the east, Norton Healthcare is building a new $38 million facility off Brownsboro Road. LINAC is keeping construction crews busy with a $33 million expanded facility off Old Henry Road. In South Louisville, the iconic Colonial Gardens is being restored. UPS's $300 million Centennial Hub expansion will create hundreds of new jobs. Here in Okolona, Diversified Consultants opened its $19 million facility and is hiring for 1,000 more jobs. In southwest Louisville, Riverport Landing, a 36-acre apartment complex, will soon offer affordable housing to hundreds of seniors, families, and single parents at the Family Scholar House, and for young people who have aged out of foster care. There are $50 million in improvements taking place along Dixie Highway. In West Louisville, we're seeing unprecedented levels of investment. Portland is having a resurgence through art, culture, business, and technology. It's one of our first Google Fiber neighborhoods. It's also the home of expanding educational opportunities. University of Kentucky's College of Design just opened a satellite studio in Portland, and U of L's Haidt Art Institute is opening studio space there later this year. The $220 million Russell Neighborhood Revitalization Project is underway. This historic neighborhood once had a thriving commercial, residential, and entertainment district, but was hit hard decades ago by discriminatory government and business practices like urban renewal and redlining. All told, more than $800 million is now pouring into West Louisville, a great down payment on the overall need. And let's remember that while big projects make the headlines, the economic resurgence like we're seeing in West Louisville is something that happens one entrepreneur at a time. That's why I want to recognize Robert Springfield of Springfield Plumbing on West Market in Russell. He's been in business for more than 30 years. They're entrepreneurs, community builders, and you guys have got to be busy fixing frozen pipes right now. Thank you, guys. So we've got entrepreneurs starting, building, and growing businesses. We have unprecedented investment and momentum in our economy. We're implementing our strategic plan while maintaining balanced budgets, receiving clean audits, and being recognized among the highest-rated credits from Moody's, Fitch, and S&P. And like any community, we also have challenges. For example, because of a shortfall in the state pension system, unless Frankfurt acts differently, Metro government's obligations will increase by $38 million this year alone. We're always ready to deal with the unexpected, but this will be difficult for the people of Louisville and force Metro government to reduce existing services. We've got a great team, and we'll work with Metro Council and citizens to find ways to meet this challenge. A sustainable solution to the pension problem needs to be found in Frankfort without threatening the prosperity we have worked so hard to create here in our city. That's not just important for Louisville, but for the entire Commonwealth. Louisville has about 1/5 of the state's population, about 1/4 of the state's jobs, and the Louisville area has more than 1/3 of the state's GDP. So it's clear that Louisville is the economic engine of our entire state. So while I applaud Frankfort for taking on pension reform, we must acknowledge that it's the result of historical underfunding and one symptom of a larger problem. Our state's tax code was designed to support the economy of the last century, not this one. For our Commonwealth to succeed in a global, modern economy, pension reform must be coupled with tax reform. Kentucky's communities have critical needs in terms of education, health, social services, and infrastructure. To meet them, Frankfort must broaden the tax base. That means we must reform an outdated system that exempts as much as it taxes. We need to take a hard look at a tax code that exempts luxury items. It doesn't make any sense to consider cuts that could hurt your child's classroom, law enforcement, drug treatment, or our justice system when we don't even tax country club memberships or limousine rides. That's just not right. And as business people, we know that we would never create a 2-year budget without knowing both our pension and tax reform solutions. That's just more common sense. So, if you're feeling anxious about the impact of the pension issue, you should. Let your legislators know we need a fair and workable long-term solution that includes giving more local control to cities and counties, and get going on the win-win of raising the cigarette tax at least $1 a pack, which would not only create as much as $266 million in new revenue, but save lives as well. Let's talk about challenges. Here are 2 big ones: opioids and violent crime. We created the Office of Addiction Services to better fight the opioid epidemic. Working with Jefferson County Attorney Michael Connell, we filed a lawsuit against the 3 largest wholesale opioid distributors for dumping millions of pills into our neighborhoods without monitoring, identifying, reporting, or halting suspicious shipments of opioids as the law requires. We'll use any funds we recovered through this lawsuit to get treatment to more citizens struggling with substance use disorder. And our public health team continues to improve our opioid action plan to focus on overdose prevention, recovery, youth prevention, education, and treatment. The drug epidemic and the illegal drug economy are major factors in the rise of violent crime in large cities across America over recent years. We responded by creating an action plan that follows national best practices in both law enforcement and crime prevention. We reorganized our police force while putting more cops on the street, especially in high crime areas. We established a federal task force with the FBI, DEA, U.S. Marshal, ATF, and the U.S. Attorney's Office to go after our most dangerous offenders. Last month, that task force returned its first federal indictments. Getting illegal guns off the streets is a top priority. Last year, LMPD took almost 1,900 guns off the street, the highest since merger. Looking at the big picture, crime is down, property crime down, robbery down over 14%, violent crime down, shootings are down 18%, homicides down 9%. In 2016, LMPD investigated 117 homicides. In 2017, that number was 107. We will keep working our plan and always seek new good ideas to improve all the results I just talked about. So please join me in thanking the brave men and women of LMPD, including Chief Steve Conrad and his command staff, for the outstanding work that they do every day. It's a tough, tough job, and it takes somebody special to be a police officer. It takes courage, dedication, training, and compassion, much, much more than just making arrests. Let me tell you about LMPD Officer Amber Ross from our community policing unit. Often, when Officer Ross was called to a crime scene, she saw girls or young women involved in or affected by the incident and no one looking out for them. So Officer Ross started her own mentoring program, No Girl Lost. She and her team of volunteers are working with over 100 teen girls throughout our city. Officer Ross is here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your service, and you're a great job. Officer Ross and others throughout Louisville who are mentoring, coaching, volunteering, answering the call to be the one to make a difference. They are performing critical services for the future of our city. When we help Louisvillians develop a sense of belonging and possibility, the benefits ripple across our city, and they last for generations. Online and at your tables, you'll find flyers detailing on how you can be the one, how you can help. As a volunteer or donor, you can help our city thrive. You can also help through your faith community or through your business. For example, we're seeing tremendous results from our Summer Works program, which we started in 2011. That year, we helped about 200 young people find summer jobs. Last year, we helped more than 5,200 people find jobs that gave them the skills and experience they'll need to build satisfying careers. Kentuckiana Works Executive Director Michael Gritton and his Summer Works team are here, so you can give them your interest. Where are you guys? Right here. Thank you. So I ask all you guys, I do this every year, but please join our Summer Works program. Join our family there. It includes Humana, UPS, Thornton's, and many more by bringing a young person into your company this summer. If you don't have a company anymore, or you're retired, provide a donation so we can find them a spot somewhere else in our community where they can learn the dignity of work and getting that first paycheck. Kentuckiana Works is also an integral partner, along with GLI, with JCPS's Academies of Louisville initiative. This is a new partnership between JCPS and businesses, aligning employer needs with classroom curriculum and positioning our young people for great, great jobs. The academies also connect directly to our Summer Works program to help develop a seamless pipeline of talent for our economy. Summer Works and the JCPS academies are two critical pieces of a much larger effort that we've been working on from day one. We've had outstanding job growth by any measure in the last 7 years. And because the global economy is evolving so rapidly, we've worked very hard to make sure that our workforce development programs are growing and evolving right along with it. In the 21st century, education after high school is essential. For some folks, the right path to a career is earning a 2- or 4-year college degree. For other folks, the right path is through a professional certification program. And our programs accommodate both. We've done this because the need is there. Today, for example, there are about 100,000 adults in Louisville who ended their formal education after high school. There's another 100,000 who have some college but stopped before finishing a degree. Many of these folks are struggling to get ahead in today's economy. Today, I'm proud to say to anyone in Louisville who's struggling to get ahead, you have more opportunities to develop the skills you need to thrive in careers of tomorrow than ever before. If you're looking for a career that's built for the future, we want to help you find it and get the skills and credentials you'll need so you can make more money to support yourself and your family. That's why our partners at Kentuckiana Works offer career services targeting the specific business sectors where our city has a competitive advantage and where we are primed for growth. Sectors like advanced manufacturing, business services, food and beverage, lifelong wellness and aging care, and logistics and e-commerce. Programs like the Kentucky Health Career Center and Kentucky Manufacturing Career Center. These two programs alone have helped more than 1,700 people find promising careers, and that includes members of our immigrant community, the primary driver of our population growth, which we need more of because of the expanding opportunities here in our city. Louisville is a welcoming and global city. It's one of the reasons we created our MTEL program, Manufacturing Training for English Language Learners. People like Reza Elahi. Reza's originally from Iran. He already had a degree in electrical engineering when he came to the United States in 2016. He began working with us at KMCC last year and added MTEL credentials. And in August, Reza began a great career as a global commodity leader with GE Appliances, one of our great partners. So congratulations to Reza, who's with us today. Good job. Thank you, man. And then we have the nationally recognized Code Louisville program, which has placed over 175 people in good-paying, high-demand jobs in computer software coding. There are numerous great coding jobs for people who are willing to learn these skills, and Code Louisville will teach you for free. That's what Shannon Beach discovered. She's a single mom who lives near Iroquois Park. After Code Louisville, she got a good job with CBS Interactive as a software engineer, and she now volunteers with Code Louisville as a mentor. She's with us today as well. Thank you, Shannon, for your great work. All of these programs are helping prepare our citizens and our city for the future. So let's talk about what's coming in 2018. Downtown will continue to thrive and draw more people to move there. We will see the grand opening of apartments at 4th and Guthrie, as well as the Main and Clay apartments. There'll also be 225 apartments at the Omni, a $300 million investment that includes an urban market. The Omni is also one of those 25 hotel projects that I mentioned. In addition, existing jewels like the Marriott, the Hyatt, the Galt House, and the Brown are all together investing over $100 million in upgrades and renovations. They want to be ready in August when the Kentucky International Convention Center reopens after a $200 million renovation. Bourbonism will continue its incredible growth. This year, we'll celebrate the grand openings of Mixer's Distillery Experience, Rabbit Hole, and the Old Forester Distillery Experience on Whiskey Row. Also, the Fraser Museum will open its Kentucky Bourbon Trail Welcome Center, making Louisville the official trailhead of the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, which grows in popularity every year. And you notice how many of these announcements are related to tourism? One big reason for that is the outstanding partnership we have with the great team at the Louisville Convention and Visitors Bureau. Their CEO, Karen Williams, is with us. She and her team are amongst the best in the country. Karen, thank you and your entire team. In 2018, coming off of Louisville City's USL Championship, we'll break the ground on the new $200 million soccer stadium district. This soccer stadium district will include restaurants, hotels, and serve as a vibrant link between downtown Nulu, Butchertown, and Waterfront Park. It's within sight of the Waterfront Botanical Gardens, which will open in 2019. The $28 million Paristown Point development will move forward this year with a 2019 opening featuring restaurants, retail, and a new world-class Kentucky Center for the Arts performance venue. Our partners, the Marion Group, will begin work at the Urban Government Center on Barrett Avenue. They'll create a modern, multi-use project including mixed-income housing, community gathering space, and neighborhood retail opportunities. This year, we'll break ground on the $160 million redevelopment of Beecher Terrace on the east side of Russell. And we'll continue working with the Louisville Urban League to create the $30 million Heritage West track and field facility on the west side of Russell. We'll also see the resurgence at 18th and Broadway with the new Passport Health headquarters and the Republic Bank Foundation YMCA both underway. They'll open next to a key stop on Louisville's future bus rapid transit system, a project that also gets underway this year and will be completed by the end of 2019. As part of our commitment to sustainability and better health, we're working with community and global partners like 100 Resilient Cities and the Nature Conservancy. As part of the Green Heart Project, 8,000 trees will be planted in South Louisville to study vegetative medicine and its potential to improve the health of our community. The Green Heart Project is gaining a reputation as one of the leading environmental medicine projects in the world. It's led by Dr. Aruni Bhatnagar. He's the director of the Environmental Health Institute at the University of Louisville and a fantastic partner to our city. Dr. Bhatnagar, thank you for your tremendous intellect and great leadership. We're very proud of this project and all efforts to improve air quality and sustainability, like the fact that our city reduced greenhouse gas emissions by 17% since 2010. A major factor in that achievement was LG&E's decision to switch from coal to natural gas at their Cane Run facility. So big kudos to LG&E for their leadership on this sustainability initiative. In 2018, we'll expand Parks and Recreation's outdoor education efforts through our ECHO mobile program. And work will begin on the new Outdoor Education Center in Shawnee Park, where we're connecting kids to nature because we know that spending time outdoors has tremendous benefits for both physical and mental health. We'll continue building our Northeast Regional Library campus off Ormsby Station Road for its 2019 opening. With its completion, we will meet the Library Master Plan's goal and my administration's commitment to have the regional libraries within 5 miles of 90% of Louisville's population. We'll continue creating more paths to opportunity for young people through our Office for Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods, including a new fellowship program for young men who've been involved in the justice system. Besides education and employment assistance, our Thrive Fellowship will provide mentoring and leadership development, so not only can these young guys help themselves find the right path, they can serve as role models for future generations. As we lean into the future, it's essential that we learn from our history. A city is not successfully positioned for the future if it is not inclusive. In the aftermath of the violence in Charlottesville last August, I saw an opportunity for the citizens of Louisville to deepen our bonds around race, history, immigration, and the role of public art in the life of our city. So in the coming weeks, in partnership with our business, faith, and other community leaders, we'll announce a series of lectures, conversations, performances, and art exhibits designed to engage, inform, and enlighten us on those issues. The goal is to make us stronger and closer as a community of equity, where there is no place for discrimination of any kind, so we can move forward faster together. This is not only right, it's also an economic development imperative. The world's leading 21st century companies have made it clear that they will only operate and expand in inclusive cities. So if you or your organization would like to be part of this effort, contact our Chief Equity Officer, Kelly Watson, or Kendall Boyd, Director of the Metro Human Relations Commissions. Another of our top priorities is digital inclusion. The legacy of discrimination includes a lack of access to 21st century technology in low-income communities. Even today, 82,000 Louisville families don't have computers in their homes and can only access the internet on cell phones. This is a tremendous barrier for students and job seekers. So we're working with partners to provide adequate and affordable hardware, assistive technology, and technical support. Our great civic innovation team has partnered with Fern Creek High School students to refurbish donated laptops, which are then provided to low-income families. We have two of our partners from Fern Creek here, Alexis Maddox, who's president of Fern Creek's Girls Who Code, and her teacher, Scott Horan. Thank you guys for being with us here today. As they say, the creek is rising. Good job to you guys. Also, too many citizens in both urban and rural areas can only get slow-speed internet because their neighborhoods aren't wired for the future. We're changing that. Our partnership with Google Fiber is one way. That's why two of the first neighborhoods wired were Portland and Newburgh. Google Fiber is laying more fiber optic cable all the time and connecting more neighborhoods to ultra-high-speed internet. AT&T and Spectrum have also upped their game, offering higher speed and lower cost services. And through the Louisville Fiber Information Technology Project, we're laying more than 115 miles of fiber optic cable throughout the city, boosting our ability to provide high-tech solutions to challenges like traffic congestion and public safety. And we will work with private companies to connect thousands of more Louisville homes and businesses to the technology that powers innovation, entrepreneurship, and economic growth in the 21st century. Digital inclusion technology is also critical to our city value of lifelong learning. And in the 21st century, learning truly must be a lifelong effort, one that begins in a child's earliest days. That's why we created the Cradle to Career framework, bringing together partners like Metro United Way, JCPS, 55,000 Degrees, and Kentuckiana Works. Because we know education isn't something that happens in school between the first day of kindergarten and the last day of high school or college. In fact, our kids only spend about 20% of their year in school. 20%. What are they learning? The other 80% of the time, and from who? That's why we're developing an approach to better address children's needs beyond the classroom so they can thrive in the 21st century. It's the evolution of our city's long efforts to improve student achievement in general and address issues of equity in particular. With this effort, government, schools, citizens, and the business community are joining forces to provide all of our city's children with not only a world-class academic education, but other services that support the whole child, from social, emotional, and health services to financial, legal, and mentoring services. This is an economic development initiative as well. For example, I mentioned wage growth earlier. If every family earning poverty-level wages earned a living wage, it would add almost $1 billion to Louisville's economy every year. That's a win for everybody. To make that happen, we have to recreate how we support our kids, because too many are being left behind, both here and all across the country. And as a career businessman, I believe in results. And when you're not getting results, you make changes. America's education system was designed for a different era. Even with hardworking teachers and dedicated parents, our schools cannot meet the needs of our future unless we embrace reform at every level. According to the U.S. News & World Report, Kentucky ranks 24th in pre-K-12 education and 41st in higher education. On a global scale, when you compare us to the rest of the world, test scores reported by the Pew Research Center show the United States ranks 24th in science and 38th in math. The future demands new thinking, new skills, and new systems, like universal pre-K, a thriving K-12 system that works for every student, and opportunities for people to get their post-high school education tuition-free. We're not going to wait. In Louisville, we're moving ahead because education beyond high school has never been more essential, and it's never been more out of reach for too many people. Earlier, I talked about our programs to help people earn professional certifications as the path to a career. Now, I'll briefly talk about college. Today, college comes at a cost that's so high, it keeps too many from pursuing their education and leaves too many of those that do crippled with debt. That's unacceptable, it's unsustainable, and frankly, it's un-American. This country was built on the promise that if you work hard, you can achieve the American dream, but the unaffordability of higher education is making a mockery of that dream for far too many Americans. Communities around the country are responding by offering free tuition programs to make higher education affordable. Tennessee launched this last year. Oregon, New York, Rhode Island have programs and are moving in this direction. So are cities like Detroit, Boston, Pittsburgh. They're providing scholarships to enable public school graduates to afford at least a 2-year degree or skills certification at a community or technical college. 2018 will be the year for Louisville to join these communities. In doing so, we'll be following the example set by the Rotary Club of Louisville. I want to thank the Rotary for their vision, citizenship, and compassion showed in creating the Rotary Promise Scholarship in 2016, which provides the opportunity for 2 years of tuition-free post-secondary education to students from 2 JCPS high schools. We're going to expand this type of opportunity for all of our city. That's why this year you will be hearing exciting announcements from major funders as we work to make these scholarships happen and we open wide to the gates of a prosperous future for more Louisvillians than ever before. So this is an incredible time to be alive, a time of both global changes and unprecedented opportunity, to be witness and participant in a city, a country, and a world that are changing and evolving all the time. So what is on the other side of that gateway to the future? It's clear 2018 will be a year of great momentum, opportunity, and change for communities all across Louisville. Some construction cranes will finish their work while others go up as we continue building our city for the future. And in the years ahead, I see a city that honors and learns from the past, lives fully in the present, and prepares for the future. I see a thriving city that competes and wins in the global marketplace and whose reputation for compassion, innovation, and opportunity continues to grow on the world stage. I see a sustainable city filled with safe and healthy neighborhoods where good health and prosperity are equally available to every age, race, and background. I see a compassionate city where citizens create connections to lift up all of those around them. I see a city where every person has the chance to reach their full human potential. That's the future of Louisville that I see, that I believe in, and that I expect, because that's the future that I, along with hundreds of thousands of people all across our city, wake up every morning and work at, strive toward, and fight for. That's the future that every city, every citizen of Louisville deserves. And that's the future, folks, that we are creating together. Thank you.
Wonderful remarks, Mayor. Thank you. We have questions. Ken?
Thank you, Mayor Fischer. Ken Grossman. There's a course of perception that the Kentucky legislature and the administration in Frankfort doesn't like Louisville all that much. Goes back many years, including the early 1980s, when the legislature preempted the city's ability to have any gun control ordinances. More recently, its failure to support your initiative to allow a local option sales tax, and the legislature's refusal to support casino gambling at Churchill Downs. Now there's talk that the city's attitude about enforcement of federal immigration laws is generating other actions by the legislature to limit the city's ability to operate and to allow the governor to make appointments to the city council. So my question is, what is your administration doing, and what can we as local citizens do to help bridge the divide between Louisville, the rural areas of the state, city government, and the governor's office?
Ken, there's actually a secret love affair between Frankfurt and Louisville that we're not aware of. But no, look, part of this is people propagate, this war on Louisville. When I said earlier here in my speech that, we're home to 1/5 of the population, 1/4 of the jobs, and 1/3 of the GDP, think about that. 1/5 of the people live here, but we produce 1/3 of the GDP. So for the state, in business senses, we're the biggest customer of Frankfurt. We produce about $2.5 billion a year in revenue in Louisville. We send that to Frankfurt. 50% of it comes back to us. Now, before we get too full of ourselves, remember, Kentucky doesn't send as much money to Washington, D.C. as we get back. So this is the way it works in every state. In our talks with the governor's team, they know the importance of a strong economy in Louisville. Last year, when this so-called war on Louisville started, the business community in Louisville rallied very strongly and spoke to the legislators in Frankfurt on how we need less control from Frankfurt, not more. So we're advocating for more local control because, right now it's 88% of the people in America live in cities. 94% of the GDP comes from cities. So we need local control so we can put things on the ballot. We need to address the scourge of gun control. It's a big part of our legislative agenda that we've got coming up as well. So Frankfurt understands business, so the more the business community can emphasize that to Frankfurt, both at the governor's level and with the legislator, that's a good thing, not just for Louisville, right? But it's good for the entire state.
Alice?
Welcome, Mayor Fischer. Alice Bridges. Thank you for spotlighting the wonderful investments happening, especially in West Louisville, that are reversing the decades of disinvestment that you talked about today. What can Louisville Metro do to ensure that more residents and business owners like the great guests that you welcomed here today from West Louisville have a chance to be a part of that revitalization and really take part in that growth? And how can we get more businesses to cross that 9th Street divide and get past perceptions about crime and violence and be part of this resurgence?
Yeah, one of the things that I was trying to emphasize in my speech, one of the biggest problems facing all of America today, and it's in our cities, is not enough people are participating in the economic big success that's going on in the country right now. When you take a look, stock market's at an all-time high, and you see all the big macroeconomic reasons, that's really just benefiting the top 20 or 30% of our population right now. The news that I announced here today about our community conversations around equity, race, immigration status are all designed so that we start seeing each other in a way that we're all interconnected and interdependent. That's what our community value of compassion has been all about. But then the question to you is, okay, then what? What are you going to do about it? If you are an individual, do business with a black-owned business. If you own a company, do you have a strong minority purchasing program? So throughout this next year, we'll be making those type of programs or spotlighting those type of programs so more people can get involved with equity. And it's not just a white-black issue either. Anybody that's at a low-income area, and there are plenty of white folks at that area, plenty of immigrants at that area, people seem to me to be more interested than ever before in equity and community. That's not socialism. That means just addressing these record levels of inequality that we see in our country right now that leads to these inequitable opportunities that then lead to problems in cities. That's what happened in Ferguson, Missouri, and all the riots since then. Part of the Trump election was when you had stereotypical white, unemployed, rural voters that lost a factory job or a mining job said, I don't know how I belong in a global economy anymore. So it's important for all of us to lean into those issues so everybody feels like they're connected to this big financial success that's taking place in our country. If not, there'll be problems.
Barbara?
Yes, Barbara Sexton Smith, and thank you, Mayor Fischer, for your incredible leadership, vision, and sense of accountability. It's become very clear to me in my first year in office that one of the most serious threats to our safety and the health of the greatest number of our citizens is our crumbling infrastructure that you always talk about with our sewer mains, our water pipes, and flood protection system. So my question is, what can you do and what can everyone in this room do to help the Metropolitan Sewer District get the support they need in order to begin their 20-year critical repair and reinvestment plan.
Great. So thank you, Councilwoman. You do a great job in District 4. What the Councilwoman is referring to is the critical repair plan that MSD is communicating to the community. When you take a look at a lot of our water-related infrastructure, so our pipes, our sewers, our flood control systems, our pumping stations, many of these now are over 100 years old. Some go back to the Civil War. And so when you see collapsing Main Street or Broadway, many of the times it's these pipes that just can't hold up anymore. So the challenge, obviously, is people don't see these pipes, so they don't think about them that much. It's an expensive bill for our city. MSD will continue throughout this year, along with members of the Metro Council, to communicate the importance of getting our infrastructure back to where it needs to be. Our water system is in pretty good shape. Our sewer lines, our flood protection system, we have challenges that you're seeing there already. Additionally, with climate change, we've seen many, many more frequent bouts of heavy rain. More rain coming in shorter periods of time than we've ever seen before. So they fill up the culverts, they flood the roads, they flood your basements. If our flood wall system is not operating, if one of our major pumps keeping the water on the other side of the flood wall do not operate properly, we'll see a flood in Louisville like we haven't seen since 1937. And of course, that'll shut down business. So this is an incredibly important investment that we need to make for our city. It will require an increase in the rate that's paid to MSD every year. That goes before the Metro Council. They have to vote on that, and then I take it from there. So communication, communication, communication. And people looking at this from a business standpoint, the businesses want to locate in a city, obviously, where infrastructure works properly, and businesses won't locate in a city if we don't have properly working infrastructure. And the last thing, we are in the middle of a federal consent decree with MSD. I think everybody's aware of that. That work, along with this new critical repair plan, will continue to employ thousands of people in good construction jobs, good paying construction jobs in the city. So there are some good things that will come out of that. So think about it as, you know what, I don't really want to repair my roof, but I got to repair my roof because water's coming into my house. And if I don't, the value of my house goes down. So people continue to be hearing on that. Please let your Metro Council person know what you think about this investment. Mark.
Mayor Fischer, Mark, cool. Thank you for your remarks. So it's a two-part question on a scale of 0 to 100, 0 being we're failing miserably, which I know we're not a 0, and 100 being we're perfect, which I know we're not 100. Where would you put us as a city right now? And the second part of that question is, what exists in your mind between that number and being at 100?
You sound like a reporter, man.
No, I'm not.
Obviously, I'm bullish about the city. Louisville is positioned both nationally and globally as kind of the top tier of the medium-sized cities that, kind of one of these next it cities. So when you talk to developers around the country, they'll talk about Austin, they'll talk about Nashville, and they say, who's next? And so Louisville is in that mix, that conversation. You can see the $12.5 billion of investment taking place in our city. That's huge for any city. 25 hotels. I think we've got more hotels being built in our city than any city in the world right now. So there's obviously a lot taking place in our city. But if you've worked around me, I say we can always do more. We can always go faster. Long term, that issue that I spoke about are making sure that every child has a chance to succeed will be the most important thing we do in our lifetimes here. If we can change the trajectory of tens of thousands of kids that are now showing up 3 years behind advantaged kids, probably kids and grandkids of people in this room. They show up 3 years behind at the age of 6. If we do not close that gap, we won't have our workforce for a community, we won't have opportunity for everybody, and ultimately we'll have public safety problems. So this Cradle to Career initiative is an incredibly important long-term initiative for our city. So we don't have an area of the city where I don't feel like we have a plan and we're working the plan and we'll always improve the plan. We've got to be a safe city. We lean into those issues around safety and public safety, don't shy from those in our city also. So the biggest issue that drives any city is people, talented people to grow an economy. And we know we need to grow our population right now as well. We've got more jobs open than we have people to fill them. It's a high-class problem to have. And these small group of growing cities like us all have that problem. So I guess that'd be the last thing I would just ask everybody to do. If you have a son, daughter, grandson, daughter, niece, nephew, tell them to move to the city. We need them to help fill these jobs and help us grow even faster, create more opportunity.
Fred?
Mr. Mayor, Fred Cowan, thank you so much for your excellent presentation and your leadership. And I want to thank you especially for drawing more attention to this issue of the pension situation, which threatens our entire state as well as our city. And my question is really a two-part question. Obviously, it would be your desire, which you've addressed today in terms of broadening our tax base to allow the state to generate more revenues, which could be used to put in the pension system, including the local government pension system. However, given the political realities and what we know the T word means in Frankfort, and especially in the climate that we see nationwide and across Kentucky today, it may not be so likely we're going to get any increases in revenues. So my question is two parts. One, if that does not come to pass and the city is faced with a situation where it has a $38 million hole to fill in terms of meeting its own local pension obligations, is it your intention to recommend a reduction of $38 million in the services, or would you consider proposing an increase in the property tax, such as the city of Covington recently did and passed in their city to help generate revenues for that? And the second part of my question is a little bit more procedurally, but it's also important in terms of pensions. As we all know, city employees and state employees have defined benefit plans at this time. The governor's proposal on the state level, which would also apply to local governments, would be to have all new employees put into 401k programs or similar ones, as opposed to defined benefits. So what is your position on that? And are you making any effort with regard to the governor's plan on that aspect of the pension situation?
Okay, thank you, Judge. So on the first issue, the $38 million is the number that's been put out by Frankfort that if nothing changes, that would be our obligation. Our new revenue next year will be in the neighborhood of $20 to $25 million, so it helps eat into that $38 million, but then we have other obligations as well. The Kentucky League of Cities, the Kentucky Association of Counties have been very vocal to Frankfort about their inability to absorb the amount of increases that have been communicated to them as well. So I'll be surprised if the $38 million stays $38 million. It will probably be introduced over a couple years, 2 years, 3 years maybe, so local governments can figure out how to absorb that more without reducing services like paving of roads, public safety, health, et cetera, because it's a real issue, obviously. That's a big number for our city. So we're working with KLC and KCO to see where all this is going to go. This is a lot of challenges in Frankfort right now. It was an understatement with both tax reform and some of the other controversies that are going on there. So we'll see where all this shakes up. On the local level, obviously, we're going to continue to look at the options that we have. We've maintained our employment basically flat over the last 7 years while the size of our government has grown. So we don't look at taxes until a very last thing is an option. The council would have to agree with that as well, so we're not in any kind of discussions like that just because it's so fluid with Frankfort right now. We are in the middle of our budget preparation. Our budget starts July 1, and we'll introduce our budget to the city, the first draft of it in April. As it relates to defined benefit and defined compensation, that's let me not get into what I believe on which way we should go. Just the obligations that are in place for government employees need to be met. I think that's a standard that we continue to fight for.
Out of respect for the mayor's time, I think we have 2 more questions. If we could share those quickly, and Mayor, if you can condense an answer.
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor Fischer, for being here. I'm Cynthia Miles Brown. My husband and I have a business just south of the Waterson on Dixie Highway. Can you elaborate a little bit more about your vision and the city's vision to connect Broadway with Passport at the top of 31W, south to all the construction that's going on in Valley Station right now with the energy efficient busing, and how to connect all those dots to connect west to southwest Louisville?
Okay. All right.
And the
Second
final
question.
Thanks, Mayor. My name is Kent Holsconnect. I'm a member of St. Edwards. I'm just a regular guy that's on your email list and wanted to come out here. But I'm a member of Clout and also a member of Habitat for Humanity. I'm wanting to see if the city through you can promote, have a better understanding of, I don't see Christopher 2X here today, whether Christopher 2X could get involved in promoting Habitat for Humanity.
Okay.
Instead of, having a homicide on his plate, to have something positive like a home opening to promote what Habitat does and what Clout does also, and make a more positive
Okay.
Thank you.
thing that's going on.
Yeah, Habitat's unbelievable. We're working with them all the time. Millard Fuller does a wonderful job in that. Affordable housing, we funded that like never before. So we'll certainly amp up our Habitat. They're a big partner of ours that we want to help as much as we can. I agree with you. On the Dixie Highway, great investment along Dixie Highway. That's that $50 million that I spoke about. So that bus rapid transit system will start at Broadway and then go down Dixie Highway. The $50 million, you're also going to be seeing Dixie Highway change from basically the way it was originally designed some 60, 70 years ago to be, have medians, to be greener, to have sidewalks along each side, to have, special bus stops for the bus rapid transit system. And then there will be better signaling with the traffic lights that will give preference to the bus rapid transit system as it goes through as well. So you'll be seeing a much more modern, consumer and business-friendly Dixie Highway here over the coming years. So we're excited about that. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Fischer.
Thanks, everybody.